always tuning in to watch our channel, Muzeying and Jizomadiba live. As of today, we are coming with the bad news of the death of one of the famous and prominent former chief judge of Providence Court in USA, known as Judge Frank Caprio. Frank Caprio, as a holder of the gravel, is going to be remembered in very many ways. And I would like to start my tribute to this judge who has made very many people love the rule of law, love the courts of adjudicature, and how to practice it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you into a courtroom, not the kind you see in the crime shows with lawyers shouting objection or judges banging gravels like they are trying to break the desk. No, this courtroom was different. It was softer, warmer, more human. Because at the bench sat the nicest in the world, Judge Frank Caprio. Now, in the generation, there is always that one figure who seems to remind us that kindness still exists, even in the toughest places. Judge Frank Caprio was exactly that. He didn't just wear the robe, he wore humanity. He didn't just hold the gravel, he held people's hearts. Think about it. When you picture a courtroom, you probably imagine tension, fear, maybe even embarrassment. But when you walked into Judge Caprio's courtroom in Providence or Rhode Island, you didn't just get justice. You got compassion, sprinkled with little humor, and sometimes even a free lesson in life. I mean, who else would let a little kid decide whether their dad should get a parking fine? Judge Caprio did. He would look at the kid, smile, and say, "So, should we fine your dad or let him go free?" And the kid, with the seriousness of the Supreme Court justice, would make a call. Sometimes dad got lucky, sometimes not so much. But either way, everybody left with a laugh and a story to tell. And then there were the heavier moments, like Victor, the 96-year-old dad, caught speeding, not for joyrides, but because he was rushing his son to the doctor. Any other judge would have seen numbers, the speed, the violation, the fine. But Caprio saw love. He saw a father's devotion. And instead of punishment, he gave honor. He told Victor, "What you are doing for your son is the most noble act of love I have ever seen. No ticket could ever outweigh that." Oh, the grieving mother, drowning in fines, while also grieving her son who had been lost to violence. She stood there, broken, And Caprio, he wept those fines away, as if saying, "You have already suffered enough. The law should never add to your pain," said Judge Frank Caprio. And who can forget the single mom standing there with her little girl's hand gripped tightly, terrified of a fine she could afford? Judge Caprio looked at her not as a case number, but as a fellow parent. Judge Caprio dismissed the charges. Hello. Judge Caprio dismissed the charges. Then turned to the daughter and gently told her, "Remember this moment, be kind, be responsible. That's what matters." The little girl didn't just walk out of the courtroom. She walked out with a lesson for life. And then came that 2023 viral video, the one where the judge himself broke down in tears. Millions watched it. Millions cried with him. That wasn't weakness. That wasn't strength. That was proof that behind the robe, behind the gravel, was a man whose heart was bigger than a courtroom itself. And now, sadly, that heart has stopped beating. Judge Frank Caprio has left us at the age of 88. After a battle with pancreatic cancer, just hours before his passing away on Wednesday, he asked the world for prayers. And the world, the same world he made to smile, the same world he made to laugh and cry, prayed for him. His son, David Caprio, shared the news with the words soaked in love, beloved for his compassion, humility, and unwavering belief in goodness of the people. Judge Caprio touched the lives of millions, said David. And it's true. He wasn't just a judge. He was a teacher, a healer, a bridge, a reminder that justice does not have to be cold, to be harsh, or mechanical. It can be a place of laughter, of second chances, or of reconciliation. Judge Caprio showed us that mercy is not weakness, mercy is wisdom. He proved that courtroom can be more than a place of punishment. He proved that it can be a place of laughter, a place of second chance, and a place of reconciliation. And maybe that's why he was always smiling, because he knew something most of us forget. Life is tough, yes, but it's also tender. As if you can bring even a drop of kindness into someone's storm, you have already made the world better. So today, we say goodbye to the smiling judge, Frank DiCaprio. Frank Caprio. The grave is quiet. The robe is folded. But his echo of kindness, that will live on in every clip, every story, every heart he touched. Rest in peace, Judge Frank Caprio. You didn't just judge with law, you judged with love. You judged with humility. And that, my friends, is the realest justice of all. Now, that was my tribute to Judge Caprio. Any person who has been watching reality shows, especially courtroom shows, you have ever found Judge Frank Caprio, who was the chief judge of the main court in Providence. Whenever he was facing his clients who had come to seek justice, Justice Frank Caprio acted extraordinarily of all judges I have ever seen in the world. A person comes grieving, brings a court in front of himself at the bench. Justice Frank Caprio acted like a father, acted like a mother, acted like a family, whereby although the complainant was in so much grief, he made sure that they leave the courtroom when the complainant and the defendant are on the same page. He created humor in the courtroom. People smiled. The resting judge smiled. Judge Caprio made his courtroom almost like a balaza, where people go in the evening for a coffee take. He made it look like it is business as usual. He made it like sons and daughters having a conversation with their fathers on a dining. Most of the moments I remember from Judge Frank Caprio, as stated in my tribute, are those instances where the parent, the mother, was heavily fined, or she was caught in wrong, and she was going to face mega fines. The judge called on the young girl, that's the daughter to the lady. The judge inquired the girl, how much should we fine mom? $50 or none? The younger girl, 5 or 4 years, said $50, smiling. The whole court smiled. The mom smiled. It's that kind of humility. It's that kind of love every person would seek when you go for justice. He made the court look like it's not a place of punishments. He made court to look like a usual place where you can walk in and seek for guidance to come back on track. He made the courtroom to act as a classroom where people can seek education and knowledge to walk in the right path. Judge Caprio made the people of Providence or the Rhode Island feel like they are part of the court, feel like they love to learn the law. He made very many students at the municipal council to go for law school. In front of you is one of the people who were inspired by Judge Caprio. The way he was conducting business, for sure, it was beyond thinking. It was beyond humanity. It was beyond the law, but it was close to understanding what is at stake. Judge Caprio made you think that you are also a judge because he made his work easy and simpler. He created a room for reconciliation. He created a room for unity. Take an instance when you have two sons or two daughters at home. One wrongs the other. They bring a case, or one brings a case on your dining, and you have to take judgment and ruling. Judge Caprio, in that instance, acted beyond fatherhood, acted beyond normal. He listened. In one of his stories, when he was interviewed, what made him very famous, what made him a person of the people, a person who is pro-people. He said that in his upbringing, his father, who was an Italian migrant to the US, and the mother taught him family discipline, taught him to be humane, taught him to handle people with care. In his narratives, or his narration, he stated that he got that sense of hearing whereby he got one ear from the mom and another ear from the father, because they were listening people. After his law school and he had gone to the bench, in his first case, he states that he acted rude. His father was present in the court, and his father was also once a judge. So when they went home and asked the father how he participated in carrying out the ruling, the dad told him, please handle people with care. People have problems. It is not by design that people make mistakes which are against the law, but they make mistakes out of ignorance. They make mistakes out of anxiety. They make mistakes out of excitement. He made him to learn how to use his calmness to interrogate people in a calm and friendly manner. Judge Caprio needed no lawyer in his courtroom. For example, I make a mistake against another partner, we go in court, I file a case, then I come with my lawyers. With Judge Caprio's case, it was totally a one-man's show. Because it was not more of punishment, but it was more of reconciliation and uniting. It was more of saying sorry to the person who is inflicted pain. Judge Caprio, in one of the famous cases also he handled, it was of the 96-year-old gentleman when his son was too sick and he had to overspeed to reach hospital. The old man, or the 96-year-old man, violated traffic rules. On violation, he had to face court. He lands in the hands of Mr. Caprio. Keen listening and critical thinking, the man stated, "I'm sorry, Judge. I was running my son to the doctor. My son was bleeding. My son was draining. He was going to lose his life." Not commonly understood, not commonly taken into consideration by most of the judges worldwide. The gentleman in Caprio was exhibited. After listening to the 96-year-old man, he had this to say, "You're a good father. At 96, you are still looking after your family. At 96, you are still feeling like your son has to leave. You are still catering for your family at 96. It's not common in very many people, because at 96, they feel like they are tired and they're worn out." He gave an appraisal to the person who committed a crime or violation of traffic rules. He told him, "I have no fines for you. You pay no fines." Why? You are looking after your family even at this age of 96. This is how humane Judge Frank Caprio was. He was this person who dug deep to understand the causative agent of a particular case at hand. That's why when they refer to him as a judge, a father, a mother, and a family judge. It is very rare to find a judge smiling in the courts. When they put on their robes, they act like they are wired. They act like they are on another planet. Find the spirit of Judge Frank Caprio and you'll be wowed. The complainant will leave the court and the defendant will leave the court, all of them on the same page, all of them gotten the syllabi. Judge Caprio, one of a kind, every generation gets once in a lifetime. When you follow court proceedings globally, you will never find the character of Judge Frank Caprio. He was in his own caliber. Caprio made the students of Rhode Island or the Providence state, he made them feel like they can become future judges who copied his instincts, his conduct, his character. I remember when he was making fun, like she dismissed the lady had got like problems, like a case at hand before her son was killed in a mob. At the same time, she was having fines So she faces the judge. On hearing and listening to a lady who was grieving her heart out, Judge Caprio acted beyond normal, acted beyond parenthood, acted beyond and beyond humanity. It is very rare to find when he said that, please, I am in the know that you have just lost a great son in the mob. This lady was a black African, a black American. You have just lost a son in the mob. Right now you are having all his dates and fines. The lady was trembling and shivering in front of Judge Caprio, holding firm the younger girl, 5-year-old, at her hand. The judge looked at the young girl. The judge looked at the lady, who was found in problems between the rock, who had no any good Samaritan to save her whatsoever, who was in the deep waters sinking. He saved her by saying, please, you're grieving to your beloved son. Giving you or finding you more, it's more of non-humanity. It's more of adding salt to the wound. It's more of using a pistol to kill a mosquito. Judge Caprio let the lady scot-free. Judge Caprio waived off all the fines from the lady. The lady wiped her face when the tears were dropping out. She knelt half-mast, talked to her daughter, but please, this is a great lesson. Love people, treat people well, listen to people. Don't judge people. They have problems. They are grieving internally. Learn to behave. Learn to act human. The younger girl left the courtroom when she has had learned a lesson of the world is a cycle. You never know. Of treating people fairly. So, seeing Caprio in the court, you are seeing another spirit in its own island. I remember another case whereby a black American had violated, again, traffic rules, and he was heavily fined. The gentleman had way back lost his job, and in the fining by Judge Caprio, he asked him how much money he could afford to pay for the fines. The gentleman stated, Judge, I'm not certain. I have just lost a job some time back. On Monday, I have an interview for a job. Judge Caprio looked into the face of the gentleman who was speaking reality. And he pleaded sorry to him. He said, okay, first get a job. Start working. Then we shall come back to court. I tell you what to pay. It is beyond humanity. Some people, some judges will make you to go back and sell your property. Not even some. Most of the judges, a big number of the judges, will make your family sell your property to pay the fines. You know? A big number of the judges, it's like they want you to see you are becoming bankrupt, poor and poorer. This was not the kind of Judge Frank Caprio. He held people in high regard. He looked at people as his relatives. He always put on the shoes of the defendants and the complainants at hand. He always wanted to resolve the issues amicably so that we can hold coherence and unity within the societies. He made his court not more of fines, not more of sentences, but more of understanding and edutainment. You will find very many judges acting serious. They tell you somebody is suffering from this and this and this, and it goes back to our country, Uganda. The judges at the bench. A mother of a younger man in the names of Yasin Machete, grieving in front of you, crying in front of you. His boy incarcerated for over 5 years as a political prisoner. A young boy who has a future. You are very busy holding and killing his future in your backyard. They try to get bail for these young men, the likes of Machete, the likes of Bobby Young, the likes of Eddie Mutwe, and others. Then you hold your gravel and rule that no bail, no bail. Everything is brought in court, and you rule that the leader of opposition is not in position to be a surety. Really? You find this lady who has just died, Marinos Alexandria, buried in Kasese. The lady who went to the Uganda Human Rights Commission, led by the lady, and she's a judge, Mariam Wangadia. The girl complained in front of her as she was raped by the military, as she was sodomized by the military in CMI and Mbuya barracks. And this lady justice, Mariam Wangadia, finds no substance in such a case, finds not even no time to go and investigate, to call on the officers to sit, to see how this girl can be helped to bring her spirit back. It is not easy for a lady to expose herself that she was raped or sodomized. But young as she was, because she felt like she hadn't got justice, and she died without getting justice. Judges of Uganda, can't we pick such a leaf from Frank Caprio? Whenever you are behind the gravel, you act inhuman. You act wild. They bring for you Dr. Chiza Besigye Chifefe, a man at 70. Justice Baguma, you deny bail to a 70-year-old man who has never killed a person just on accusations, and you cite bogus rulings. You know, it makes people feel heavy-hearted. It makes people like they have been cheated in their lives. And I always ask myself, when you go back home, do your wives welcome you back? Do your husbands and children welcome you back? The way you want to be welcomed back with smiling faces, it's the same way the children of Machete, the children of Obiang, the moms and dads of those political prisoners want to see the smiles of the children on their faces. Poor as they are, to see them trying this crazy world to see that they can achieve what they don't have. But you cannot hold them behind bars without court hearings for 5 years. Really? Is that humanity? A person comes to your court, a military man is grabbing his land, his or her land. A lady at 80 years grieving in front of you, and you hurt her in a corrupt manner. When are we going to become human? When are we adopting the Frank Caprio philosophy of love, humanity, unity, and act as a family man? Sometimes you look at things which are moving on in the country, and you feel like, oh, you ask yourself, is it worth it? Is the authority happy with what is going on? And maybe it's happy because any other person will act in accordance with the law, will act in accordance with bringing unity. Caprio acted in that manner. That's why millions and millions of people are pouring their hearts out to grieve with the family of Mr. Caprio, to grieve with David Caprio Jr. I remember last year in June or May, Caprio was celebrating his birthday, and this is when he was diagnosed of pancreatic cancer. Surrounded by his friends and family, seated in the wheelchair, the ever-smiling, lovely, caring Chief Judge of the Providence Municipal Council, with a deafening voice, talked to the world in the viral video. He thanked the people who have supported him throughout his journey as a judge. He broke on the news of the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. He requested the people to pray for him. He requested the people to keep loving each other. Judge Caprio went on with an undertone to tell the people, please, every time you are playing, don't forget me. Put me in your players. I know the power of prayer is much mightier than anything. He was a good believer. He underwent surgery, and the doctors were very joyful to receive Caprio. On coming back from the hospital after treatment, where he gained energy, even he had to cut out some interviews, you saw life in a lively soul. He continued to preach togetherness. He continued to preach loving people. He continued to preach treating people at the greatest heights possible. A week back, Caprio was run to the hospital when the situation was worsening. In another viral video, which was released yesterday, he requested again the general public in a deafening video with a deafening voice, with a trembling voice within him, as you hear him when he had just feared death. The way I could remember my dad in 2002 when he was losing his life at the age of 6 years. He had to send people to get me from school, to go to Mulago National Referral Hospital with the 4 of my siblings to talk to him. He had taken like 3 days without talking. When he saw me, he had to raise and he had to say, is that Nganda coming? The moment I reached at his resting bed, he called me and hugged me. He looked at me with teary eyes, the way Frank Caprio was. And the question forwarded to me, it was, my son, my namesake, what is killing me? Because the consultants and the doctors had diagnosed everything and they were not seeing anything affecting my dad. I can say like enough for Frank Caprio, it was evident that he was suffering from pancreatic cancer. But a man at 37 years, the consultants, the senior doctors, top notch, we are not saying what was the man suffering from. In his trembling and deafening voice, he told me, I will come back home. I will come back home. I love you. It was like his last words to his siblings. The same applies to Frank Caprio, as he told us his last words, with teary eyes, with a trembling voice, speaking volumes of the guy who was losing the battle. Frank lost the battle in a very painful, fearful way. And life teaches us, for those who can cope up, that we can do everything on this earth. We can treat people well. We can mistreat people. We can misjudge people. But there is that point T when the Almighty God has to unplug the switch from you. You go meet him. Every now and then, we are losing our beloved ones. And one of them is Frank Caprio. Every year, we lose that crucial person who has lessons to carry on. And God lives for us those who make people grieve. It's a big question at hand as to why God always takes the good people with good deeds. Then he leaves those behind who are making his people to suffer and grieve. The logic behind is not known. With Frank at 88, people were like, they still need him in life. With Frank at 88, people were like, they still need him for service. With Frank at 88, people thought that they still need him as a great example to the younger generation. With Frank at 88, the younger families needed him to learn how to handle family matters. With Frank at 88, the judges needed him more to use him as a great example in carrying out their duties. When you dig in depth, you will find that Franco was not just a judge. Franco was not a judge. He was just godly sent. At that top level, much known the world over. At that top level, famous world over, Frank remained a common man. Frank remained calm. Frank remained down to earth. Not that people yelled at him in a hyping way. The hyping did not sway him away from reality. Frank remained much composed. He had that sense of listening, sense of judgment. When you talk about Frank, he teaches you that we shouldn't use court just for laws. We have to use court to get solutions. Sentencing and putting people in jails, finding people is not an everlasting solution. But the lasting solution is making the person to understand his wrong, rectify him. In so doing, very many people can become good people in the long run. Because whenever they find the unexpected in life, they try to make some steps back. Frank, at his stature, couldn't get involved in rubbing shoulders with the common people, with the young souls. But all the time you could see Frank on the streets, the young babies running after him. the women running after Frank, the younger generation taking Frank as their father. Reason? He was doing the exceptional. Frank is this example who speaks volumes that when we go to school, we don't go to just get degrees and masters or PhDs. But after getting those degrees, how can you help your society to change in a positive manner? How can you build the people in your society to become responsible citizens? How can you use your degree to carry out civic education in the places of responsibility or in the vacancies of responsibility where you are in charge? How can you use the places of responsibility or your degree masters to look through the challenges of the people? And how can you use that degree to provide the everlasting solutions to the people in your society? In African setting, you will find that as they are teaching us, we go to school to learn and get jobs. After getting jobs, we will get money. Then you will get good life. Frank DiCaprio had this mentality in him that it's not about money. It's not about anything. It's about making people feel comfortable and happy. Make people feel healthier. Offload the problems from the people. They will have that glittering smile on their faces. Frank was this person who exhibited that, yes, you can be more educated. But do you know people power? Do you know that people is power? Frank is this person who understood the assignment that he was elevated through the ranks by the people. When you gain office, you have to serve the interests of the people. You have to serve the interests of the society. And in so doing, you are contributing towards the growth and development of the people. The reason why most of the African people hate rule of law in their countries is because the judges, the policemen, the leaders are using this law as a whip against the common man. Not using the law to make the common man get civic education from it. Judge Frank Caprio used his courtroom to carry out civic education to the people of Providence, the people of Rhode Island, to the Americans. It was not just mere court sittings. It was a full lecture, well broken down for easy understanding of the common man. It was not just a matter of going for court rulings and judgments. It was a matter of understanding why. It was a matter of understanding why they fine. It was a matter of understanding that I was moving in the wrong direction. Let me come back to the right track. It was not a matter of just shouting in the court. It was a matter of a learning process to all people who were present in court. It was not a matter of exchanging cross-examinations. Trying to show that the best person to argue is not to take the day. Judge Frank Caprio made his court carry the day. Made his court, made the people in the court to reflect. Made the people in the court to rewind. Made the people in the court to feel the atmosphere. Made the people in the court to understand the law, to understand the common good of the community, to understand that it is better for you to carry yourself in a responsible manner. Judge Caprio made his work easy in that any common man on the streets would think it was easy to carry out his job. To show that this work was very heavy, it is not easy to replace Judge Frank Caprio. For the judges in the African continent and around Europe or America, can we get time in law school to build people of the character of the resting judge? Because the products we are getting from universities and the practicing schools, they are more of writing judgments and rulings than teaching the society of what to do. You will find that very many courts in Kampala, Uganda, and the other places, they are facing backlogs of chicken thieves, backlogs of fights, backlogs of divorce. But these cases could have been managed at a lower level amicably. Then those high-profile cases would have taken course. But you will find the court in Kampala has over 20,000 cases, which is not called for. We can create reconciling courts down. We sit down, we resolve our issues. Most of the issues are petty issues, which can be solved by just mere talk. Just mere talk. Court cases of fines. You will find that all our prisons are full to capacity. I was seeing the Police Commissioner, Baine, talking about it, that the prisons are full to capacity in Uganda. But every day, they are taking there more prisoners. Why? Don't you think that people will contract diseases through that congestion? So we have to think to restructure in a way by copying the behavior of the resting judge, Frank Caprio. The conduct. Judges have to look into it. Before you make a judgment, please use common sense. A mother, a father, a prisoner is grieving. They bring to you a prisoner when he is thoroughly beaten, is bleeding. They bring to you a prisoner when his face has been damaged. He's having all his hands affected by cuffs. The cuffs have entered into his skin. You end up sending him to remand. Are you human? Really? Really? And you think people, when you get problems, people are going to grieve with you? It's not by mistake that when people, especially high-profile people in government in Uganda, when they get problems, they lose loved ones, they lose their lives, people celebrate because people are grieving. And such a society or country, it's almost on the time bomb. Once you see people in African culture starting to celebrate death, you should know that country is on a time bomb. It is always a matter of time. And it is a matter of people, the leaders, to rethink, to make transitions here and there, to save such countries, to save such societies. If you don't do it, inna lillahi wa inna lillahi rajiun. I would like to stop here. Tribute to the beloved, smiling Judge Frank Caprio. You played your part towards shaping the world. You played your big part towards shaping the jurisprudence. You played your part towards shaping the rule of law. You played your part towards civic education. You made the court lively. You made the court look simple. You will ever be at our hearts. I pray Allah Jalla Jalal to give you Jalat Firdaus, Ya Rabbi. You deserve it. You exhibited everything beyond humanity. You are not a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. But I look at the deeds and I say, please, 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 this is beyond my reach. Beyond my reach. The gentleman did exceptional things. In that, if you cannot pray for his eternal life to be more of light, you are not of good heart. I would like to stop here. Rest in peace, Judge Frank Caprio. You will live to be my good example. I promise to be that person in you. It's one of the reasons I'm pushing to be a good judge, a good lawyer, and a good person of the law in making. I know at my age, I can still push and I can help the world to be shaped in your path. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. God bless you. Jambo.